Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first session of the IBC Continuous Education Program. So, we're very delighted you're here with us today. So, I have my colleague Deepak with us, and we'll be introducing the panel for today. Uh, Deepak.
Hey Dhruv, just checking in. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey Dhruv, thank you. Thanks a lot for taking on this session today. And I would just like to thank everyone for joining in today. I know it's a busy day. There's a lot to do. We have just ended up with the HackFest, and now we are coming up with the continuous education program. So a lot of exciting stuff happening, and you guys are rallying between college, then IBC stuff happening parallelly. I know that's a lot happening, and it's a lot to juggle, but that's where the fun is. And we have we have something very interesting for you all today, and we have had a very brief discussion on the same, and a few Q&As in our Discord. But at the same time, I thought it was quite important for us to discuss what the IBC continuous education program is. And for that, and to speak more on that, we have with us the Chief Operating Officer of IBC Media, Mr. Praveen Thakur. Most of you must already know him through our IBC HackFest, of course. But those who are not familiar with Praveen sir, I would like you to know that it's great to have him among us today. He's the brain behind the entire IBC Media's education program. And Praveen sir and the IBC Media CEO, Mr. Abhishek Pitti, have huge plans for all the students of our country, as they are tirelessly working towards creating the biggest blockchain and Web3 education ecosystem that the world has ever seen. I am frankly lucky to be part of this initiative, and I'm quite sure that all the students who have joined us today, and also the students who couldn't join us for whatever reason, maybe commute, etc., are equally lucky and happy to be part of this education program. I know there would be a lot of questions as to what we are going to be learning and taking away from the IBC continuous education program. And I thought it was extremely important to have someone like Praveen sir among us who will help us understand all of it and also explain what exactly we are trying to achieve here. Praveen sir, first of all, thank you. I'm quite grateful that you have taken out the time to join us, and I would sincerely request you to kindly take the conversation ahead.
Hey, so thank you, Deepak, and thank you, Dhruv, for I would say kind introduction. All of you, very good evening. I am sure we have met in Hyderabad with many of you. If not, then we will meet very soon. One of the things that we are always striving very hard to make your Web3 progression journey easy, fun filled, and and pretty quick. Now, how do we do that? We of course understand that many of you are right now pursuing your education, and of course when you are doing your undergrad, then you have so many commitments in your college with respect to your lectures, with respect to your assignments, with respect to your exams, and we do appreciate that. Deepak, I hope I am audible clearly.
Yes, we can hear you.
So yeah, thank you. So we do understand all those things that you are trying to balance. And while we loved hosting all of you in our Hyderabad HackFest, we still think that there should be much wider mechanism to kind of help you, to impart you knowledge, to help you build stuff in Web3. And that's where we have come up with something which is much more flexible, which gives you an opportunity to balance things out between what you are doing in your college and what really you are trying to do with IBC Media. Like Deepak mentioned, we have a very high level of commitment in terms of solving the puzzle that the whole blockchain industry is facing right now. Blockchain industry is pretty exciting with respect to the innovations that happen here, and it is pretty important for all of us to be cognizant of all of these updates, all of these things which are happening. I'll try to cover some of the fundamentals today, which gives you a playground where you kind of set your goalpost, go and try to make your own roadmap and align with what we are trying to do. So I think it's pretty exciting. What I will try to do today, the main two things that I want to achieve with all of you today is basically give you an overview of what we are trying to do in the IBC continuous education program, and then we will also be spending some time going over some of the basics and fundamentals of blockchain and Web3. Why is it so important? What really has happened so far, and what impact does it make in our life? We have to appreciate that very very clearly, and then we will be on a platform together, which will help us traverse the next course or next set of things. Hope it makes sense. With this introduction, let me go over to my next slide. If you We look at it like a journey, like a voyage, in which we primarily have three things. The one which some of you already have witnessed in Hyderabad, which is 8 days, 9 days, pretty engaging kind of session, in which we help you with the orientation towards the blockchain industry in general. We go deeper into the functional aspects. We also go deeper into the ideation, where we encourage you, we help you come up with the ideas which could be useful to the industry in terms of the solutioning that you come up with. And it was pretty exciting to see that. I'll tell you the statistics. In fact, I was consolidating the ideas there myself, what all of you did in Hyderabad. We got around 1300 plus business ideas which could be built. Now, many of these ideas were pretty impressive, and we arranged a program which is called the most promising idea, and we had, sorry for my coughing, I'm a little unwell. uh, we had around 14 teams who came and presented their ideas, in front of a jury panel. And although all of them were pretty nice, but we struggled in finding out, coming up with the top three ideas, the most promising ideas, which really could, which could have a huge influence in the way, the businesses are kind of new businesses are made. And those were spanning across the business segments. Some of them were finance, some of them were agriculture, some of them were, the social world. So it was pretty interesting. Now that is very very interesting, and we continue. IBC Media will continue doing this program in various places across the country. So that is very important. The second part of the program that we take pride in, basically, all of them, it is logistically nightmare to kind of get everybody, assembled at one place. It's pretty difficult, and there is a physical limit, and you cannot go and have an indefinite number of people coming at one place and going through all these things. So we always make sure that all these sessions where we are inviting the international guests, international blockchain experts, many of them have deep experience. In fact, most of them have deep experience in the technology, the domain, the blockchains they are working in, to come and talk to you, right? So it was very important for us to make this available to you online, and we were live casting this on the YouTube. And there were other ways in which you could come and attend and benefit from the sessions which are happening in the HackFest. That's pretty important part of everything that we are doing. Now the third thing that we have a pretty we are have a conviction about, is that while these programs are pretty bounded, in which we cover a lot of things, but when we say that we will be putting you through the journey of becoming a Web3 developer, it really needs more. And that is where we have been thinking for quite some time, and we have finalized, and we wanted to come back to you with something called continuous education program from IBC. Now, this is again pretty interesting model in a way that this will cover all the three aspects which you need, to become a solid Web3 developer. What are those three? Number one, you must first appreciate what is really happening in this industry. Why is this industry important? What really has happened so far? What are the nuances of this technology? Once you understand these things at an abstract level, then what we are doing here, that we are taking you down, we are hand holding you to take deeper into some of these very intricate technical topics. Now, we have focused on Polkadot, as you know, many of you were there, wherein we try to get deeper into how does the Polkadot ecosystem work, what are the different technical complexities there, how do projects get made in Polkadot, how do they how do you set up the environment, and then what kind of things, the palettes that they have, ready-made palettes which you could use, and then you could go and tweak them. Many of these things we already covered, right? But we think that this needs a much more prolonged kind of engagement, and that's where our module 2, which will typically be of 9 to 10 days, and this will be 2 hour session, which we will be kind of arranging in the evenings of India time, in which we will be selecting some of these key topics to go over again. And you will get much more insights into all these topics. Now, the having covered these two things, the third module is pretty interesting, where you already have ideas, and what we are doing here is we are giving you a helping hand in basically building your application. Now, this is a very, very interesting thing. Once you kind of work with us in one or two such CPs, you will become independent, and then you will start thinking of different ways in which you will start leveraging the tools which are available in the internet and other places, where you become more and more independent. But it is very important for us to handhold you in the beginning. Now, another thing that we are also doing in IBC Media right now, that we have, there are a lot many, problems that we have been given by our sponsors. There will be a session mostly day after tomorrow. I would invite you to join that session. That will be very important, because there are so many ideas which you could build on and directly participate in the hackathon that is being sponsored by our sponsors. And I believe that you definitely could do something very, very fast in that space, and be winning so many exciting prizes from these sponsors. And we will talk more about them day after tomorrow. But please join that session. That will be very, very and not only that, I mean, we're not asking you to just go and build it. We are going to help you building that. That's something which is very, very crucial. We will also be getting you help from our sponsors in taking you through that journey. So believe me, these modules of the CEP that we have programmed, these are going to be very, very progressive, and you will never feel that you are getting into something so complex, but you will be slowly getting into this space. So I think please engage with this. I will suggest that I will request for more participation, and taking benefit of all the hard work that IBC Media is trying to do in the backend. Like I said, there are three modules of IBC Continuous Education Program. Module 1 is something which we started today, where we will be orienting you towards the technology. We will be getting into some fundamentals, and many of you, if you have attended, the Hyderabad HackFest or otherwise, you would understand. But it is good to kind of go over them once again, so that you are ready for the deep technical sessions, which will be covered in module 2. And then once you are comfortable in these two modules, you will be ready for building. Now, if you already have acquired some skills right now, you could start building now also. So there is no restriction as such. But then the idea is to provide you that continuous help from I would say the starting level to a level where you could produce, you could create the product MVP. And believe me, if you are, if you are giving the attention that what I am requesting here, it is very, very, I would say, doable. Can I say it easy? I don't want to say that, but I say it is pretty doable. But I will request you for your attention. Some of the things that for the next 3 days right now, what we have put here, that this is a program that we are following. I'll be also trying to cover some basic concepts in blockchain and Web3, which will give you some more perspective. We will go to the tomorrow. We will go for some of the programming fundamentals, and the third that I talked about, 9th December, will be we will be going through all the different problem statements that are in front of you for you to build. Now, sponsors are desperately looking for some solutions, and by interacting with all of you during the Hyderabad Hackfest, I'm pretty convinced that you guys are very, very sharp people, and I see lot many solutions coming out of this group. And and the people who were not part of Hyderabad Hackfest, I will be kind of requesting them also to be a part of this journey, so that they also they come at the same equal footing in terms of knowledge and expertise. Now, this is module 1 that I'm talking about. And as I said earlier, we will be sharing with you the technical sessions details for module 2 soon. Deepak, will be sharing with all of you in Discord. And then we will also be having, the building sessions where we will be engaging with you once you kind of, in fact, Deepak and I, we will be reaching out to you in maybe next few days with some solid ideas with respect to the sponsors problem statements, and we will be talking about them, and we'll see how exactly you get familiarized. What all do you need to do? Go and study something which really will help you understand these problem statements better, so that you can build on problem solutions there. So I think that's the program that I'm talking about. Now, some of these things are here. What we are saying, that the people who attended the Hyderabad Hackfest, this session, these 3 day sessions that I'm talking about, this would be optional for you, because we really have covered many of these sessions earlier. And these sessions will, what we are doing right now, basically is kind of repetition. But it's always good to have, if you think that you could gain some advantage, or you could reinforce some of these learnings what you had done earlier, please feel free to join. I think these are not very long sessions for 2 days. But then, yeah, I would still request that 9th December is very important. I would request you all to join. Then there are module 2 and module 3. Now, if you already have attended Hackfest, then of course we will give you direct access to the module 2. But if you really haven't attended Hackfest, then I would encourage you, or in fact, I will request you to come via module 1, because that will give you some context. And then you could go to the module 2, where we will be covering the technicals there. And finally, people who have attended the Hyderabad Hackfest, we believe that they already have acquired so much of knowledge in terms of technology also. So they could, sorry, if they really want to start building, we are fine with that. But for participants who are joining this CEP directly here, I would seriously encourage that come attend module 1 and module 2, so that you really get a lot of expertise and skills. Then you will be in a better position to build. So that's what we are trying to summarize in this page for your information. Um, Now, I think if there are, Deepak, I think I am done introducing the CP. Uh, any questions from anyone which we want to take right now, or we could get to the next segment?
Sure, sir. Thank you. I hope I'm audible. So, anybody, if you have any question, you can just type in the Q&A option that you will be seeing on your screen. Just type your question over there regarding the session, and we will address it. I don't see any question that is related to the session as of now, sir. But if something comes up, we'll definitely address it.
I would like to know from the people who are attending today, did it make sense what I have talked so far? If you could put that question. People could
Yeah.
respond in chat to Deepak.
Yeah. Guys, you can just put some responses with respect to if what we have discussed until now has made some sense, or if you have any questions. A simple yes or a simple yes would suffice in case you have understood it, and a simple a question would suffice if you want to ask those questions. Are those live sessions for Hyderabad HackFest students? Those live sessions for Hyderabad, it's clear, sir. It's clear, sir. Everything is clear. There's one question by Satvik that says he's asking, are those live sessions for Hyderabad HackFest students? So you want to take that up?
Yes, so these sessions are going to be held, as I said, starting today. And Hyderabad HackFest people could definitely join to reinforce their learnings. We are not stopping you, but we have covered many of these topics. But I would still reinforce, Satvik, that it is good to join these sessions because many of these things would be more, in depth here because we had limitation in time there, as you know. Definitely, it is advisable to join these sessions because we will be covering a particular list of topics in a progressive manner. Good to have. And again, this is not going to take the whole day for you. We are doing this in the evening, 6 to 8 p.m. You would already have finished your college, and you could come here, participate in these sessions, ask questions, interact with people. See, the Web3 is all about interacting. Web3 cannot be done in isolation. So come here, form your group, talk to like-minded people, understand who knows what, collaborate with others. And that's how you become a Web3 developer. If you remember what Abhishek Pitti was saying in the HackFest, this is one of the most important tools. I am so happy that all of you have joined our Discord channel. Please interact on Discord channel. There are, we spend a lot of time on Discord. We have people who are dedicated to Discord. They always listen to you. So we really have put in a lot of infrastructure for you to kind of come and leverage those infrastructures. It's very good. I think it's not like, you are studying your engineering college, you study a subject, you write the exam of your semester and you are done. I think a little different here. I think it is all about experiential learning, talking to others. So I think it is, Satvik, it is good idea to come and attend these sessions. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So
Suhani says, yeah, sorry. So I'll just appreciate the fact that some people have responded by saying it's clear, sir. That's from Suhani, and everything is clear. That's from Puneet, and we can continue now.
excellent, Swani. Thank you. Thanks, Puneet. If I am right, you are Puneet Khatri, whom I had interacted.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Good to see you, Puneet. So, guys, what I after having covered this so far, where I have tried to give you a glimpse of the IBC continuous education program that IBC Media has come up with, and if I summarize in one line, the main objective of this program is to engage with you, keeping in mind your constraints and giving you knowledge incrementally so that you don't feel pressured, your learning is smooth. And I would like to, and I not like to, I would love to see you, many of you, in some international forums with fantastic ideas being presented in front of the world. And I would like to take pride in that you have come from IBC Media. You are an alumni of IBC Media, believe me. And we are doing everything to make that for you. Okay. Now, having said that, now the second segment of the discussion that I wanted to spend time today was basically an overview of blockchain and Web3, right? Of course, I have tried to put here some foundational things, some technology that is being used here, some of the limitations, and what do we see from here now? If you really see, uh, right now the blockchain and the crypto world is going through some pressure, as all of you know and understand that. Now, when you are looking at a technology such as blockchain, which has got so wide applications in the real life, and this has got so much of potential, there will always be some misuse by people, because this industry is not so regulated right now. And and if you don't have regulations, then of course some people sometimes behave miscreatingly. Now, having said that, uh, it's always important, or it is always you can always look at this problem in two ways. You can go and start putting all the restrictions, or you can allow the system to take care of its problem itself. Now, when you say that you will go and put some restrictions, what are the pros and cons there? The pros are, yes, you will start seeing, these issues being curtailed. But at the same time, what happens that the rate of innovation also decreases, which is definitely not good in my opinion. The innovation has to be allowed to happen. So that is where, in my opinion, that immediate imposing restrictions is not a great idea. But then the second thing is that how does system itself take care of things? Now that's the beauty of this environment, where so many sharp people are coming, and I I read so many articles. In fact, I go and give talks at several places, and one thing that I have realized, that this place is full of smart people. In fact, in my opinion, a good percentage of smart people in the world today, they are looking at blockchain. Now, what are the different areas in blockchain? It could be several areas. It could be the programming side. It could be the community management side. It could be the marketing side. It could be networking side. It could be security side. It could be cloud hosting side. It could be data side. It could be anything. So now when you look at all these sharp people coming in, and everybody is pretty concerned about the key problems which are there in this industry, and that is where solutions evolve. That is where people understand. And if something happens, you may have heard of Terra Luna, you may have heard of FTX crash. All these things are basically all these things are basically the systemic issues. I would say more than systemic issues, these are I would say very, very localized issues, which in my opinion, and in the opinion of most of the people from blockchain space, these are not going to be altering the long term possibilities of this blockchain space. And that is where I think we are here to create that community, developer community, from the very grassroots fundamental layer of any education system. As you know, India is one of the brightest places for talent, and we are proud to have come up this program in which we are directly engaging with you to help you to transition to Web3 in the most seamless and the most efficient method that could be possible. And that is where the programs that you see from IBC Media is pretty encompassing, pretty inclusive, pretty detailed, and it is practical. That is very, very important. It is very, very practical for you to be part of this. Okay, so today I'll be covering you some of these basics of blockchain. I am not sure how much time do I have. I would have some time. Let me try to do justice to the level possible with all the things that I want to cover today. Okay, with that understanding, let me go back to how it all started. Deepak, so far so good?
Yes, sir. We are absolutely following up with what we have planned.
Excellent. So let me, guys. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the 2008 global financial crisis, GFC acronym. Now, this was something which was, I would say, pretty important event in the financial history of the world, of the globe, basically. And there were several reasons. If you really ask me, I will underline the greed of the centralized systems, which basically uh, became to an extent, which went to an extent in which things started collapsing. Now, Now that's a summary, overall summary. But what exactly it happened? And this has got. I will encourage you to go and read some articles on global financial crisis, and you will understand it's very complex. It's very complex financial world in which it's also called as subprime crisis. What really happened was, and I'll just take a few minutes to kind of give some perspective on that. What really happened was that the assets, okay, the assets people were holding. What happened that interest rate became lower, and when the rate became lower in US, then what happened? Many people started going for loans. Okay, many people started going for home loans. Okay, and what happened in that process, that these the banks and the financial institutions, what they started doing, their business is to give loan because they are earning money by doing that. So there is always a check, whom do you give loan, right? And the customer should be a prime customer, and there are various factors when you say a customer is prime customer, where his earning potential, this, that, history, a lot of things we check. And even the property we check, basically, that should be acceptable, etc., etc. So all those things we check, and then after that we go and give loans, and that's how ideally it should happen. And there are a lot of other intermediaries involved in the process who go and check check your history, then check your financial liabilities, etc., etc. And then they give report to the banks, and then the banks kind of act on that. What happened? The collusion happened here, that since these entities, they wanted to increase their business, they started undermining all these conditions. Okay, and then what happened? People started getting loans left and right, even when they were not eligible for. If you are eligible for 100K and you are asking for 1 million, then bank will give you 1 million because bank is getting interest of 1 million. Okay, now so far so good. So what happened when these things started happening? Then people started getting loans, home loans, pretty nicely. They didn't have a lot many restrictions. And with that process, what happens? When the home loans, became common, and in fact, I was looking at some advertisements. It was pretty interesting, and you could go and see that somewhere, that banks were advertising that, okay, don't worry about your credit rating, just come and take the loan. I mean, 1 minute loan, this, that, and all. I mean, this was such a rampant thing there. So in that process, what happened? That all these properties, when the ownership started changing, then all these properties also, there are a lot of selling happening there. Now, when the sell side was increasing or buy side was increasing, then the value also started increasing. The valuation of these houses started increasing. But the ground reality was that these houses were not so valued in reality. Now, after that, what happened? After some time, all these people who were, and there were, of course, financial and monetary and fiscal policies changed, and due to that, what happened? Many people, started losing jobs, in the beginning, and maybe this was a trigger point. And then what happened? People were not able to, people stopped paying EMIs. Now, before this, I'll take 1 more minute to explain. Now, if I'm a bank, if I am giving you loan, then what? I am not sitting with that loan. And please focus on this point. I am not sitting with that loan because, say, for example, if as a bank, you have got $10 million in your, which you can give loan. Okay. Now, what you are doing here, that if you understand finance, there is a concept called derivatives. So derivative is a financial instrument whose value is determined by something underlying. Okay, I mean, that's the overall definition. There are several types of instruments, such as options, contracts, etc., etc. There are many things. So maybe we could talk about this some other time. But right now, let me come back to the point. So the banks, if the bank has got $10 million to dispose as loan, bank gave $10 million loan. Now, after that, if bank is not doing anything, then what happens? Then bank's income becomes fixed. Now, whatever EMI comes, whatever interest comes, that's the only income. Now, what these guys started doing, these FIs, financial institutions, what they started doing, that they started creating derivatives. Okay, they started creating derivative products. So, for example, I gave loan of $10 million. and I'm expecting, say for example, 5% interest. Okay, what I will do, I will go and package these products, all these loans, into a derivative product, and I will sell this to somebody else by gaining 2%. For example, I will compromise with my earning there. I will go for 2% or 3%. Okay. Now, what happened by doing that? That I got my $10 million back. Now, when I got my $10 million back, now I am again free to give loan of $10 million. So I'll again go and look for another set of people. The person, the entity which bought my derivative products of 10 million, what will they do? They will also try to make some money out of that, and then they will sell it to somebody else. Now, the person who bought the next level of derivative products, they will also not keep quiet. They will take some money, 0.2% or 0.5%, then they will again change their hands. So the loan that was created at the level one, now the person who basically, and this loan has got in the form of derivative products, has already changed so many hands, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now some of these instruments were invested by people in other countries also. That is where it is global financial crisis, because the person who is buying a derivative product in China or India or Japan, they don't know that which home this loan is, which all home loans does this derivative product include, because this has changed so many hands and there was no transparency. You get the complexity. There's such a complex system being created, and everybody is just trying to make his money or her money and just washing the hands. That's it. No control. Now, when people started having problem in paying EMI, then all these things started collapsing. Then the valuation started happening. Does this house which was sold at 1 million, does it really have 1 million worth? Then people started valuing, and then it really just crashed like that. It all started with that, and there are many more complexities. I cannot cover all of that here, but you get that. Now, the basic point that I'm trying to cover here is that when you have things in control of the central systems or central entities, you always have your control, and you do what is good for you without looking at the issues at the systemic level. And all these things were rampant. The whole world collapsed. If you guys remember, I was in New York that time, and I was working for a bank, famous US bank that time. And this crisis happened, and I was witnessing in front of my eyes all the things which were happening in the Wall Street. I can't tell you what was the scenario. All major names were collapsing. This was a very terrible situation to be in. In all these things, there is a person called Satoshi Nakamoto who comes up with a white paper. I will encourage you to go and read this white paper. Who comes and says, guys, we don't need central systems. You can move money from one person to another person without any intermediary. And here is the technology, Bitcoin. Why would it not raise attention? And it was a path breaking. And if you go and look at the technology, the way Bitcoin has been designed, it has not failed single time so far. That's what. Now there are problems in terms of the energy consumption, all of that. I understand that, but right now I'm talking about the technology, the elimination of the central entities, and the way the way governance is happening. Right. So everything started here, and was 2008 the right time to launch this? I think so, because that's where Satoshi came up with this idea. Even Satoshi was engaged in the community. He transferred some initial bitcoins to some people, and he was engaged. He was responding to people. He was coding also in the initial days. And after some time, he disappeared. Nobody knows who Satoshi is. Is he a person? Is he or he, or is that person as she, or is a group of people? We don't know about that. But then what we came up with was absolutely amazing, and that really was the birth of what all we are seeing today. Today, if you really see, you will ask me why exactly we are knowing about this, because it was the Gangotri of the whole blockchain, starting from there. Okay, and we could imagine things in a completely different way. that we are right now we are talking about NFTs, metaverses, we are talking about play to earn games, we are talking about social fi, DeFi, and name not whatever you can think of. But everything started here. So you must appreciate, and I think I will encourage you to go and spend more time on understanding the basic. Then you will be able to appreciate things, much, much more clearly as to what you are doing there. Now, with this, let me go to the next slide. And many of you, Deepak, good so far?
Yes, sir. We are right on track.
Okay. So now, having said that, for the next few slides, I will, when I talk about blockchain, I will mean sometimes Bitcoin, but then basically blockchain is much more, I would say, much more broad definition of the technology, but the fundamentals still remain the same. For example, what is a blockchain, right? So, and in fact, when I was taking a session in Hyderabad, I asked the same question to people. What is a blockchain? And the blockchain is basically a chain of blocks in which different blocks are connected to each other. I mean, the previous block is current block is connected to the previous block by a mechanism in which the current block has got entry of the hash of the previous block. That's how it's connected. Now we'll talk about all these things. So that all these blocks, they come in a chain in which if you are changing a particular block, then you need to, if you are trying to change a particular block, then everything that really happens, you will need to start from the beginning or the place where you are changing. You have to go and rebuild all the chains. For example, in 10th block, there is a transaction where it says that person A has given $10 to person B, and person B becomes greedy. So person B goes and changes that block transaction to, okay, person A has given me $1,000 or $1 million. If you go and change that, you can always create a block. Nobody stops you. But as long as others are not accepting it, then this block is of no use. So what you need to do, there are several rules here basically. So you will need to go and create this block again. The moment you do changes here, the hash of the block changes. Now, if this hash changes, you will need to go and rebuild all the blocks subsequent to this block. Okay. And then you will need to have majority of the people accepting that change, that this is a new block, which is impossible. And that's where it is completely, and that's where we call that this is, this cannot be changed. Right. Now, there are several questions here, basically. Who maintains this ledger? Now, this is something which is very interesting here. This is the power of the community. And the way rules are defined, all these blocks, the new block generation, the validation of the transaction, there are different rules here. Now, if you have $5, if you're trying to spend $10, how is it possible? It cannot be, right? So we always go and check something which is called UTXO, unspent transaction output. So when you do a transaction, so for example, I have got $10, I give $5 to Puneet Khatri, then I'm remaining with $5, right? So I will always publish that now Praveen Thakur has got $5 remaining. Now, if next time Praveen Thakur goes and tries to give $10 to Deepak Singh, the blockchain transaction will not be allowed because it will stop it. It will fail the validation. So there are lot many validation checks there. Okay. Now, how do you get new Bitcoins? Now, I think these are some of the things that you should appreciate here, and which is pretty specific to Bitcoin. Especially, what happens that there is a maximum of 21 million Bitcoins that could be created. And when the Bitcoins are created, then what happens basically is that when a block is created, then the person who is chosen, and who gets chosen there, the person who does it fast, the fastest, basically, that person blocks gets accepted, and others vote on this. Means if your block is included by other validators or miners, we call in Bitcoin, then if your block is accepted or included by the maximum miners, then your block is considered to be the next block. But if there are more blocks which come at the same time, then some people do a split, and then again the rule prevails that the longest chain prevails always. That's the rule there. Okay, then people will automatically come and take side of the longest chain. There are a lot of things. I think you should read all these things basically. The point what I'm trying to make here, that The structure that we're talking about is a series of chains. There are many complexities in every block. Transactions get included. Now, this thing is different for different blockchains. What is applicable in Bitcoin may not be applicable in Ethereum, may not be applicable in Solana, may not be applicable in Avalanche. All of these chains, these are all L1s I'm talking about. These all L1s have defined their own rules depending upon what problem they saw in others, and then they all are trying to improvise upon things. Now that's the beauty here. You are free to launch your own L1. You are free to use your own consensus mechanism. You are free to use your own validation rules. You are free to choose validators. You are free to choose how many validators do you need. That will decide whether you are decentralized enough or you are not decentralized enough. All those things, questions are there. Now, all these decision points will determine, what is going to be your response, the speed of your blockchain block creation, how much secured you are, right? How fast transactions can happen, and that's called trilemma basically. So all these blockchains basically they will go and choose one or the other side, whether they want to be secured, whether they want to be fast enough, whether they want to be decentralized, right? So it's a decision that you have to take as a blockchain. But on this particular slide, I'm trying to cover the fundamentals remain same. You may have different ways of arriving at the next block, which is fine. You may have different ways in which you can make a consensus, but the fundamental still remains the same. Okay, so let me go to let me talk a little bit about the transaction flow. Now I think this would apply to many, but then let me still talk from the basic conceptual level. So what really happens now? I'll take an example of any blockchain, for example. So what really happens now? If you look at one particular blockchain, then there are different types of applications, and I have talked about this when I was talking in Hyderabad session. I mean, you could go and look at my session. I think Deepak, it is available on our YouTube channel, I guess. Maybe you can go and look at it there also.
Yes.
So what happens basically that any particular blockchain, be it L1s or L2s, and I will talk about the L1s and L2 difference a little later. So let's talk about layer one protocol, layer one blockchain, which has got its own. Sorry about that. Which has got its own mechanism of transaction creation, which has got its own mechanism of validators. They have their own validator set, and all those things they have their details. Now, this particular layer one blockchain has several different types of applications which are published on that network, on that chain. Now, these could be DeFi applications, decentralized finance application. These could be games applications. These could be metaverses. These could be NFTs. These could be sports. These could be agriculture. These could be any type of transaction, any type of application. All the users on these applications, what they do some transaction. Now, those are business transactions. Yeah, guys, give me a second. Put the light on. Yeah, sorry about this. So these could be different types of transactions and business wise. Now, if you are in DeFi, it could be a loan transaction. It could be an yield transaction. It could be borrowing, lending. It could be insurance. It could be any type of transaction. Similar to that, if it is a games, then it could be different type of transaction where you are earning some loyalty points or tokens, or it could be anything else, right? But if you look at the layer one blockchain, from the layer one blockchain perspective, the transactions are just the state change of the data or blockchain. So when I say state change, means it is very simple, that a blockchain is at a particular state at a particular point in time. Different transactions happen on that chain, and the state changes from A to B. I mean, nothing else really matters to the chain as such at the foundational level. Okay. So now, how does it happen? So all these different types of applications, or what we call dApps, they come and publish their transactions to the network. Look, guys, I am going and borrowing, $100 on this protocol, for example, on this application, such as, for example, Aave, right? Now, when you say that, then what happens basically that there will be some place from where money will come, and there will be some place money will go, and then there will be some exchange between the two people there, right? Now, at the end of the day, that's the transaction. So how does the network know about it? Then what happens? These transactions get publicized to all the nodes, validator nodes, especially the people who are in the business of validating the transaction. Why do they validate? Because if they succeed in that, then they will get rewarded. Okay. Now there is something called mempool. I'm not sure whether you have heard about that. If not, then go into some research on that. Mempool is basically a place where all these transactions lie before being picked up by different validators. Okay, and that's how it works. So these transactions are basically, these transactions are picked up by the different validators. Now, one validator can pick up one set of transactions, another validator or miner can pick up another set of transactions. It may happen. Now, between these two validators, if the validator one's block gets accepted, then those transactions will get accepted in the next block, which which was basically picked up by this validator. The rest will be picked up by others later. I mean, all these things happen. Okay. Now it really is much more complex, but I'm trying to keep it simple here. Then what happens? Then I'll go and do validation, and then I will do my validation process, and then I'll kind of go and publish my node block. Sorry, that look, I am I think that this is the next block. Okay, and then what happens once you publish that? Then others will go and validate what you have done is fine. If they find what you have done is okay, then they will take your block and then they will start building blocks on top of that. Now that's how a chain is created. Now, typically depending upon the nonce and depending upon the complexity of the problem that you are trying to solve, like if you remember Selvaraju, our trainer had explained there in the Hyderabad hackathon, how do you really find a problem? And I had also touched upon this point that you go and find a hash which has got, say for example, so many leading zeros, right? Maybe 8, 9 or so, and then as many leading zeros you find, and especially in for example in Bitcoin, it's the complexity increases. Okay, because that's a random process. You go and keep on hashing, and then finding, oh, now I have got 8 zeros. That's a chance choice, but it will definitely take a lot of time. Okay, and all these things happen. Then one person kind of goes and builds the block. It goes to the next person, and the next person takes that. So if you really want to be in the race of winning, then you really need to be able to build the block at the fastest. So again, there comes the hash rate, where what is your compute capacity of your machine. There are not many people who have come forward. They are kind of doing the pool mining, where 10 people are coming together, aggregating their infrastructure of compute. They're doing all those things, and finally what they do basically is that they share the reward. I mean, all those things are there. These are commercial aspects. I'll not get into that right now, but you understand what I'm saying here. So basically that's how transactions flow in the system. Okay, Deepak, so far so good?
Yes, sir. We can continue.
Excellent. So far what we have talked about, the how do blocks get formed, how exactly different validators interact with each other, and then finally what happens, that the next block gets confirmed, which others take, and then they kind of continue working on that, right? I mean, the whole process, basically there are some key terms that I have listed here, which you should definitely understand. Many of these things I have covered, but then let me go over a few of them here as well again. Now, the one thing that you have to understand, so what kind of networks you are talking about when you talk about blockchain, network, all these are synonymous things. Okay. Now, there are two types of primarily, and there could be three, but let me talk about from the perspective of the privilege of being a part of this system. of any network, for example. So there is public and there is private blockchain. Or you say consortium blockchain, basically, where some people come together, uh, they uh, they kind of agree upon a set of rules, and then whatever data is being shared, that remains within that group. Basically, there are many such platforms, such as Hyperledger, Corda. There are many other platforms where you can do. Now they have got their specific business use cases. For example, 5 banks, they want to use blockchain. They want to have their customers transact with each other without any hassle or without any interaction problem. They could come together, they could put their system on blockchain, they could transact with each other, and finally what happens that you know things become fast, things become I would say decentralized to an extent. I will have question there, but fine, still it is better than being centralized there. And transactions happen across them much faster, right? Such as if you are doing international money transfer, and all of if not, then you must appreciate that international money transfers are pretty complex matter, in which it takes huge amount of time, maybe sometimes a week or even more, and it costs you so much of money to transfer, so in the range of 10%, sometimes even more, where so if you are transferring $100, then you only get $90 at the destination, and it takes huge amount of time. There are intermediary banks which come, and they're called correspondent bank or something like that, in which if for example from one bank in India I want to send some money in Kenya, right? It will go to some country, then it will go to another country, from there it will go to another country, and then finally it will reach destination, and everybody who is participating in between, they will kind of charge a fees. So imagine all these money that you are giving, they get distributed across all these people, and that's where it is costing expensive, right? So, but then what happens that it maybe, for example, 10 different banks across the globe, they come together and they say, okay, fine, let's make a consortium where we all agree upon some rules, and all the customers who really are kind of doing these transactions, and you can define any rule for that matter, right? This becomes kind of a very, I would say, business easing process, right? Now, there are different uses. For example, I'll talk about agriculture use cases. Very interesting use case. For example, agriculture insurance. Let me talk a little bit about that. So, what happens that when a farmer, for example, a commercial farmer, that person goes for an insurance, then there are different conditions, right? And say, for example, he's producing organic wheat or organic rice. Then there are different parties involved in that. Who are the parties? He will go to a bank to get some finance. He'll go to some insurance company to get the insurance covered. He'll go to some input providers from where he will buy the seeds. He will buy, the fertilizers or organic fertilizers or whatever. Then he will have, the manufacturing, the tool providers, right? All these latest machineries which are used in farming, etc., etc. Lot of people are there. Okay. Now, what really happens here is that if you want to bring this system on blockchain, right? This is fantastic, fantastic outcome from this process. If you don't do this, then what happens that if I'm a banker, and if I am giving, for example, somebody 10 lakhs rupees loan to do some organic farming, now what if that person doesn't use organic seed? What if that person doesn't use organic fertilizer? That person's 10 lakh what he has invested is gone. It is at risk. So everybody wants to be very transparent in terms of what is happening. For example, insurance. Now you go and claim that no, in my area flood happened. Now, how do you know? I mean, there are ways in which you can kind of go and misguide the insurance company. So I think there are many ways which could be wrongly manipulated, and the whole system goes for a toss. So when you get this system onto blockchain and create a permissioned blockchain in which make all these people a part of that system, and if something happens, a transaction happens, everybody goes and ticks that transaction. Okay, you are using this kind of seed, bank is fine, insurance company is fine, these guys are fine, these guys are fine. Okay, transaction approved. Now that transaction goes into the blockchain. Nobody can touch it now. You cannot go and manipulate like that. If you maintain the history of all these transactions in blockchain, the end outcome will be much more predictable. I will just give an example in agriculture. The same thing could be done in supply chain, it could be done in manufacturing, it could be anywhere, right? And that's where the permission blockchain comes into existence. The other type of the blockchain, by and large, is basically public blockchain like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Now, these blockchains don't need anybody's permission to join. If you really want to join Solana tomorrow, any dApp on Solana, nobody stops you. Go and create your private key, public key, and you are good there. You want to go and join Ethereum, create your keys infrastructure, go and start transacting. Go to Polkadot, create your infrastructure, and start acting there, transacting there. So that's how these public blockchains have come into existence. And in fact, it all started with this only. But then, of course, these public blockchains have, they have much more decentralization. Now, that again is a matter of question whether, if in your network, if you are having so many validators, then I consider this good enough decentralization. If I only have 6 validators, then you are not decentralized properly. I mean, these 6 people can manipulate, right? So if you are having 1,000 validators, difficult to manipulate there, right? All these things are questioned there. But still, I think this is definitely, if you design your system in a good manner, then I think this will be a fantastic decentralization story, which really has several use cases which are helping in us in our life, in many ways. Okay, hope it makes sense. Now, coming back to the point, trust, and I will talk about this a little bit because I have talked about the global financial crisis. What you're doing basically is that by putting your money into a bank, you are trusting that bank, for example. Now, how does the bank function? Bank takes your money, and then bank goes and gives most of the money in loan to outside, right? Say, for example, if I'm a bank, I have got 100 rupees, I have got deposits from all my customers. What I will do, I will go and give 90 rupees to loans to outside people, and I will keep only 10 rupees, and that is basically which is mandated by the central bank of the country, in our country by RBI, that you need to have this much money minimum deposit, minimum available with you always. Why? Because people come and do some transactions on their daily basis, so you should be able to meet people's demand. Now, the rest money has already been put in circulation in the loans and all that. Now, imagine if the bank does not act in the strictest, honest way, and if bank starts giving the loans to people who don't deserve, and where the likelihood of getting the money back is pretty problematic, right? Which really happened which has happened many times in the past. Now, you're keeping your money in the bank, and the bank is basically, you are entrusting the bank or the central entity to keep your money safely. But now, if the bank is not acting in line with your trust, and the money gets disappeared in the loans, now you go and give money to 1,000 crore to somebody, and that person disappears. Or you invest in a business, or you invest, say for example, you are giving a loan to a person with 5 crores rupees in India, and once go and do valuation, that home is for 50 lakhs, you are done with 4.5 crore. Even if you go and do sell that house to recover the money, you are only going to get 50 lakhs. 4.5 lakhs is gone. So the trust is very, very important. And in the centralized system world, trust is, we all are forced to trust because we didn't have a system. We didn't have a system. Now, this is the main, I would say, the basis of all these things. Why are these things taking traction? Why is blockchain becoming so popular? Why is blockchain getting so many use cases in real life? Because people are liking it? No, it is a must. You need, and that's the way technology is progressing. I remember in 1990s when I was using internet, my internet experience was pretty nasty because I just could read something at such a slow speed. Things changed. We could transact online. We could do all of that. Is it better? Yes. I mean, definitely I would go for that. Now, the next level is Web3, where you are saying that, okay, fine, I could do things there, that is fine, but then the transactions are not being done, keeping me in the trust center. Now, if that is the case, then I would definitely not like to trust somebody. You have got 20 lakhs rupees, 50 lakhs rupees, 1 crore rupees in a bank account, but trusting an entity to kind of keep it safe for you, give you some interest, but then suddenly that bank or whatever, that the whole money disappears. What will you do? Nothing. But done. So it's a huge stake, and that is where adoption is happening. And just not the example of finance, blockchain, DeFi, but this use case, the blockchain has found its utility in all walks of life. You don't have a choice. Technology has to go there, and that is where we say that all these newer and newer blockchains which are coming up, they are solving some of the problems. This industry needs all of you to come here, understand this technology, learn the programming, make your contributions, be a part of something which is going to be the future. Deepak, so far so good?
Yes, sir. We have one question, if you would like to address.
Mhm.
So Puneet is asking, can you say more about private blockchain?
Puneet, I think this is a very simple thing where uh, private blockchains and public blockchains. The basic difference is that private blockchain, nobody can just go and join the network. Okay, there are permissions around it. This is called permissioned network, we call it, in which now depending on what rules are formed, that always is determined by the group, the private consortium. In public, you don't need anybody's permission to go and join Ethereum, for example. Okay, so I think, and there are many other complexities. There are different types of private blockchain. If you go and Puneet, if you go and study about Hyperledger, you will find what I'm talking about. There are different types of blockchains they have created for different specific use cases. There is a Fabric, then there is I don't remember all the names, but then you go and look at Hyperledger, you will get to know what I'm saying here. There are different types of blockchains which have been created, and all of them are suiting to a definite purpose there. Okay. So you could go and do some research on that. But the point coming back to that, trust is very important, right? Now moving on to some other points. Nodes, we talked about. Nodes are the guys who are basically where the application is run, for example. So if I'm creating a node, I will be now there could be different types of node. Okay. And somebody could be a validator node, somebody could just be viewing the transaction, etc., etc. So different level of engagement of nodes, and all these nodes have their functions. What typically happens on these nodes is that, for example, if you talk about Ethereum, then your EVM software basically gets run there. If you talk about Polkadot, Polygon, the same thing happens there. Okay. So if you are running a node, now these are all further complex topics which we will be covering in our module 2, where how do you run a node? Okay, how do you run a validator nodes? Now all these nodes really have to interact with each other. How do they do that? They engage into a peer-to-peer communication, what we call P2P. Now this P2P is pretty interesting. I will encourage you guys to read all of these things. Basically, how do these nodes interact with each other? How do you kind of go and publish the transactions to other nodes? How do other nodes behave? All those things. And there are many things which really you need to understand in nodes. But you must understand that these nodes are the places where these softwares are run, number one, and they have varying roles. If you really want to have the whole history of the data, that will be different kind of node. There could be something on archival nodes, different types of node. Okay, but they are the building block for all these validation and consensus mechanism that really happens in a blockchain. I talked about consensus mechanism earlier. Consensus mechanism is very simple, that how do you arrive at a consensus that what block is going to be the next block? Very simple. Bitcoin does in a different way, which is proof of work, where everybody is forced to do some work, and whoever does it fast others kind of accept him as the next block. But there is now that has got a lot of energy problems issues, as you know. And for that only, we have got other different types of, such as proof of stake, in which then the question comes, and I think I would like to just I'm trying to spend some time on the fundamentals here that you should understand. Now, I'm sure there are so many articles on the internet where you can go and study all these things, but my objective here is to give you some pointers to think. For example, proof of work and proof of stake, right? Why was proof of work created? Proof of work was created so that nobody can cheat, right? And it is so expensive to cheat that it is not possible to cheat. Give an example. If I tell you that, okay, come back to me, I just tell you come back to me. You will come back to me in a second. But I tell you, I give you a big problem to solve. Then I will ask you, okay, solve this problem and then come to me. Okay. Now, this will take you time to solve the problem, right? Now, if you have to come to me to cheat 10 times or 100 times, you have to go and do all these work 100 times. Something very similar. If in Bitcoin, for example, proof of work, any proof of work mechanism for that matter, I'm asking people to solve a big problem, which will take minimum 10 minutes to solve. And then only I will allow you to create the next block. Now it is not easy. If you remove this proof of work, okay, if you don't ask people to solve problem, everybody will create, millions of blocks in a second. There are programs available, there are softwares available. But I'm telling you, no, I will not accept it. You first come and solve this problem, then come to me, show me the proof of work that you have done, and then I will allow that block to come and create. Now you are into the game. That's what is proof of work. But what in this process, this definitely gave me security. This made sure that people cannot cheat, especially when the transactions, when the blocks are so many, you can't go and cheat just like that. But then it really has a cost on the environment. That is where then people started thinking, okay, fine, I still want to make sure that my system is secure. I don't want to go via proof of work. I don't want to do so much of work. How do I do that? Right? That question. Then comes proof of stake. Now people started thinking smartly, and you guys know that Ethereum has gone into ETH 2.0 has gone into proof of stake right now. But that's where people started thinking, and my objective here is to start your thinking process here. Please go and do a lot of study on all these things. Okay. Then people say that, okay, fine, I will create a model where I will tell you that, okay, I don't remember all the names, so I'm not seeing all your names, guys. So that's why I'm telling Puneet's name all the time. So if Puneet has to do some transaction, what will Puneet do? He will go and put $100 to me. Okay, and then what I will do, and then I will ask Puneet, look, if you are doing your transaction in justified way, you are not cheating, then I am okay. But if you are trying to cheat, I will penalize you. I will take some money out of you. Now Puneet will think twice before cheating. So Puneet has a stake in the game here. Understand that? So now it will be now. Is it as strong as proof of work? Yes, it has proven to be, and it is also energy consumption. And then you increase the number of validators. You do by doing several things here. But then that's how now proof of work, proof of stake. There are so many other things. Proof of elapsed time, delegated proof of stake. There are several ways in which companies can create consensus. There is no hard and fast rule. You create your own consensus mechanism. The idea is that you should be able to decide on the next block. Plus, it should be secured enough. It should be decentralized enough. Now, that's what I'm talking about. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say in consensus mechanism, right? That's how you arrive at a consensus. I talked about double spending earlier. I'll not cover that again, that if you don't have money, you cannot spend it. But in the real world, in the non-blockchain world, you can do that. The blockchain, the crypto projects, including Bitcoin, they have stopped this double spending. I talked also about UTXO earlier, that every transaction will give you UTXO where it will be tracking what you are left with. Okay, so that you cannot spend more than that in the ultimately at the end of the day, it is peer-to-peer money transfer. You cannot spend more than your bank has got 1,000 rupees. You can't go and transfer 5,000 rupees to somebody else. I mean, that's not possible, right? But this is done here in blockchain without any intermediary. In bank, you have to trust bank. Now, if you have got 1 lakh rupee and bank, somebody, has got the privilege to your data, and that person has, something going on, in his personal life, he goes and, reduces to 1,000 rupees. What will you do? Of course, there are checks and balances, but then nobody stops from doing them. And there are things which really cannot be caught. I've seen many such instances, right? Uh, Signature, I will come little later. Hashing, I will come little later. Nonce, I have talked about, right? Nonce is an arbitrary number. It's called number once. Now, when you put this number and you create a hash, it's a way of solving a problem. You keep on all that, you take all the data, you include a nonce here, especially in the Bitcoin I'm talking about, and then you keep on hashing. You change the nonce and create a new hash. Is it with 10 leading zeros? No. Change the nonce, again do that, again hash it. Is it still 10 leading zeros? No. Keep on doing like that. That's the purpose there, basically. Okay. Now, nonce is used in different ways in different protocols. I will not get into that right now. But nonce, you understand. You understand mining. Mining is the process where the new block gets created. Who does it? All miners try. Who gets it? The person who gets it first. How does he get rewarded? The person will get rewarded by the block reward. Right? I talked about difficulty level. The difficulty level keeps on increasing after a certain time, so that in Bitcoin it really basically is that you try to keep the block creation time to 10 minutes, and that's where you change the difficulty level basically. We talked about transactions. Very interesting thing. You have to understand the deep fundamentals of transactions. Transactions are nothing but data, but these transactions will originate from different types of business applications. And ultimately, when they go and hit the layer 1 chain, then basically they mean numbers for the chain, nothing else, right? But then if you look at one block, this block can have one transaction coming from DeFi, 10 transactions coming from game, 20 transactions coming from some other project. All these are combination, and all these transactions get included in block depending upon many factors. I'll again not go into that, because then how much money are you going to be spending? See, the point is that there is something which one thing miner gets in Bitcoin is what it's called block reward, where the Bitcoin system rewards depending upon what time we're talking about. The second is that whatever transactions get included, all of them give some money to the miner. Now, if you in your transaction, if you're not including that money, like that the gas fee kind of thing, then your transaction will be included, but later. First, they will try to include all transactions which have given some money. Very simple. Okay. Now, I mean, there are pros and cons here. I mean, see, all these things that I'm talking about, they themselves are deep technical subjects. There are technicalities, there are rational, there are debates. All those things are there. But again, we can't really go into that. We will have some, some sessions separately where we will get into all of these things. But for today, I have covered transactions, I have covered nonce, mining, difficulty level, you understand, double spending problem, you understand pretty nicely, consensus mechanism, you understand the roles that the nodes play, network type, you understand. Now, only one thing I will cover on this page before I go to the next slide is that layer 1 and layer 2s. Now, I think many of you would understand that already, but then I'm trying to cover here again for the benefit of people who don't understand them clearly. So layer 1 protocols are like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, like Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot. They prefer to call themselves as layer 0 protocol. So I'll not get into that right now. We'll have a specific discussion on Polkadot because they are our headline sponsors. But what happens in layer 1 protocols, basically, that and especially these problems started with Ethereum, where transactions became slow. Many people are, because there were so many applications or dApps that got created on Ethereum, that everybody is trying to put their transaction in the block. Now this was becoming a big problem because people wanted their application transaction badly in the block, so they started giving more and more gas fees. Now, so gas fees increased drastically. So, for example, you have to transfer $5 from one person to another person, for example. Or if you go and take a loan, or if you want to go and do something else in Ethereum earlier, then you had to go and shell out big amount of money, $100, $200, and like that. Okay, then people started thinking, how do you solve this problem? How do you make it sustainable? Otherwise, if these problems are there, then the whole blockchain revolution will slow down, because nobody can go and spend $100 for doing one transaction, right? That is where Ethereum started working on its 2.0, where they were migrating to Ethereum was earlier proof of work. They shifted to proof of stake, and they're still in the process of migrating. If you really want to know more, you can go and study that. But coming back to the point, the one way is go and do sharding, where you go and create parallel processing. You are able to create more parallel transactions, and increase the speed. You can do many things technically as well. But then another thing that really came is layer two. Now these layer twos are basically, they still leverage the security of the main layer one, but what they do, that they have their own rules, own validators, and these guys kind of do the transactions, consolidate them, and hit the layer one not so frequently, but at regular frequency. For example, if there are 1,000 transactions on Ethereum, all of them are trying to get into the block, right? Now everybody is rushing, gas fee increasing, transactions becoming slow, all those problems. Now, for example, there are so many layer twos, Arbitrum, then you have got Optimism, then you have got Polygon. Now they all have different technologies. I'll not go into that. Maybe you need to study, or maybe we can have different session on this some other day. But the point what I'm trying to get at here is basically that what these guys are doing, by doing some mechanism, what they're saying that, look, I will go and consolidate all these 1,000 transactions in my system, okay? And sorry for the background noise. I can't control that. So what they do, they will go and keep a record of all these transactions offline, 1,000 transactions, for example, and they will aggregate them. They will do the ledger with them, and they will not go and hit for example, the layer one that frequently. Instead of going and hitting layer 1,000 times, which was happening earlier, they will consolidate and they will go and hit the layer one once. So by doing that, what happens? You understand the load that you are reducing on the layer one. Now that is one of the most important things. But you are still leveraging the security of the layer one chain. Now there are much more details into this, but in essence, that's what we are doing here. And you do so, and by doing this, you are making the transaction cost fees such a lower level that you can't imagine. Where we were spending $100, now you are spending 0.001 cent. And that's the kind of difference that we are talking about. So there are different layer twos which have come up. Now there is something very interesting which really have come up is ZK, and maybe we can have a separate session on ZK sometime. Zero knowledge proof, we'll talk about that. But overall, I want you to understand the fundamentals of blockchain. How do blocks get formed? How exactly, what are the roles of different consensus mechanism? What do nodes do? How do you do transactions? How do people solve problems there? How do you kind of arrive at the next block? How do others perceive that? So you definitely need to understand in things in general here. Okay, and then you will be in a place where if you go and start working on Polkadot or other transactions, other chains, then you will understand the basics, and then you can build upon that. That was one of my intentions for today's session. Deepak, so far so good.
Yes, sir. Just a quick note for everybody, guys. If you have any other questions, we are restricting the feature to allow people to speak, because there are some elements that we saw in the start who are some distracting stuff. So I would request you to just put your question in the question Q&A section, and we will address it. Yes, sir. Please carry on.
So now we talked about, I kept the hashing and signature, earlier to talk in this slide. Basically, hashing is basically, it's very simple. Now hashing could be done by different rules. There is something called short 256, which is used by Bitcoin. There are various other algorithms which you would. Hashing is nothing but, guys. Hashing is nothing but a mathematical function. So whatever input you give to the hashing function, in case of SHA-256, it will return you 256 long outcome. If you go and change anything, the end outcome that you will get will be nowhere close to what you got earlier. Now that is something beautiful. You cannot guess that, okay, let me make small a to capital A in the source, and let's go and do it here. The outcome will be slightly different. No, outcome will be completely different. That is one. Second, now this is basically what I'm talking about is within the acceptable limit of the compute infrastructure that the world has today. I'm not talking about quantum computing. Now that also is a topic which I'm deeply interested in. Maybe we can talk about that some other time. But in general, you cannot find two inputs X and Y, where both of their hash outcomes are same. I mean, it may happen one in I don't know how many zeros. Okay, so this is called collision free. So now why it is so important for us to talk here? Because if this is something where you start getting two outcomes same, then the whole premise upon which the blockchain fundamentals have been created, that itself collapses. But fortunately, this is not. Second, if you know the hash, you can never find the input. That is another interesting thing. So what happens really that everybody. So for example, and I'll go back to the consensus mechanism problem solving part. Okay, that say for example you are creating a block. You have got transactions. You have got some other parameters, values, date, timestamp, hash of the previous block, etc., etc. You give a nonce, and you keep creating the hash, which has got 10 leading zeros to qualify to be the next block. Correct? Now, in this process, what happens that you tried for 10 minutes, okay, and then you came up with you came up with a hash which satisfies the criteria of the difficulty level at that point in time. Now, you got that, and then what you did, you published it to the world. Okay. Now, when you publish to the world, now if everybody validating it, if they have to go and do again 10-minute validation, then it is a problem, right? So for them, it is very easy. They will take all the inputs that you have given them. They already have validated those inputs that you have not done anything malicious there. And then they will hash it. They'll find, oh, what you're saying is right. Fine, good, done. But if you are getting the outcome, you cannot go back and find out what were the inputs. If somebody could do that, then everything fails here. People could manipulate it. Understood? Now these are very important things again. So guys, I cannot go and these are all very, very deep subjects. Hashing, encryption, I would talk about ZK. I mean, you start your journey, and I will encourage all of you to be a part of these sessions. We are going to be covering all these complex topics. In fact, I would love to take some of these complex topics myself and help you appreciate. But my request to all of you would be that I will need reciprocation in your effort. I will need that enthusiasm. I would need that energy level from you guys so that we can do good for you. I would feel very happy that somebody comes and tells me that, Praveen, I have created this startup. I was part of IBC Media. I can't tell you how happy I would be listening to that. But that will need a lot of sustained work. Work with IBC Media for next 6 months. And I can tell you, and I've told this before as well, I can tell you, you will be a different person altogether. Believe me. But pay attention to what I'm saying. Wherever I'm saying that, go and read more. Don't just leave that. Take notes, go and read more. It may happen that I may not be covering everything here because in 1.5 hours it's not possible to cover such a deep subject. But I would like to generate that interest in you so that you can go back and go in-depth study on all these things. Okay. Now let's come back to the point. Something very important. Signature we talked about. Now signature is very every transaction that you publish to the world, right? Which world? The layer 1 or layer 2, whatever world you are operating in. Be it Ethereum, be it Bitcoin, be it Polygon, be it Polkadot, wherever you are. Your transaction has to be signed by your private key or secret key. And how do people verify whether you have signed it? They can verify it. It's again cryptography. Cryptography is, guys, another very interesting subject. So they need to just go and take your outcome. They will match it with public key, what you have. Every secret key has a public key, corresponding public key. Everybody knows your public key. They will use your public key. They will say what you have signed, and they will get to know whether you are the genuine person. If you are not the genuine person, if you have not signed it with the secret key, they'll reject the transaction there itself. The transaction cannot be included in the blockchain, in the block. Right? So now this is something which is very fundamental to blockchain. What you are seeing in wallet, these wallets are nothing but these keys generation, and they use your supply your private key, sign your transactions by that, for example in MetaMask, and then only you are able to send the transaction to the chain. So this is a very fundamental thing you should know. You can again go and do in-depth study in some of these wallets. There are different types of wallet. They are custodial wallet, they are non-custodial wallet, they are hot wallet, they are a cold wallet, etc. And we will cover many of these things. But yeah, go ahead, Deepak. Hello. Deepak, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, I thought somebody was saying something.
And I think we can go ahead. We'll take questions separately.
Okay. So one thing that I wanted to talk to you here is how exactly the transaction aggregation happens. If you look at any block, for example, I am looking at block 6. The fundamental transactions are TX1, TX2, TX3, TX4. These 4 transactions have been submitted by 4 people, one from the DeFi, one from the game, one from Metaverse or somewhere. How do these transactions get their place in the block? So it's not like you go ahead and straightway keep these transactions there. So you hash these transactions, such as TX3 hashing, it will give you HS3, TX4 will give you HS4, like that HS1, HS2, and then you will again hash these two, HS1, HS2, to come up with HS12, and then 3, 4 will come up with HS34, and then you again HS12 and HS34 you combine again, and then you again hash them. Then you come up with a Merkle root. It's a very interesting concept here. Manipulation possibilities are minimized. And what you do, you go and take in a particular block, you take this Merkle root, and imagine if somebody goes and changes TX4. If you change TX4, HS4 changes. If HS4 changes, HS34 changes. HS34 changes, the Merkle root changes. And if Merkle root changes, then the block 6 hash changes. If block 6 hash changes, all the blocks which are made on block 6, everything will change. So we're done. The touching at one point, the whole system collapses. Now that's the beauty of this system here. I wanted to bring about. Okay. Having covered so far, let me take a few minutes on some of the business applications. And I think I have talked about in some of my previous lectures also. What are the different ways in which this blockchain is being used right now? There are many business use cases, business segments, such as, for example, lending. And we talked about lending, borrowing. All of them in the conventional world have several challenges. Definitely, blockchain has given a complete new paradigm of this, lending and borrowing world. The question arises, many of you would ask this question, that is it completely problem free? I don't think so, because this system is still maturing. There are problems being discovered. People are misusing it, because there are good people, there are bad people as well. People are trying to misuse the system. But at the same time, as I was talking earlier, the system is maturing, system is learning from its mistakes. People are trying to make it foolproof, right? But this is one of the major areas in the DeFi space. We have exchanges where now these are replica of your conventional, your finance world exchanges, the stock markets where you go and trade in equity. You have got equivalent of IPOs in initial public offering. In the crypto world, there are different ways in which you raise money: ICOs, IDOs, IEOs. And guys, go ahead and get deeper into all of that basically. Then you have got exchanges where you can go and buy and sell your ownership of tokens, right? There are different types of exchanges: centralized, decentralized. All of them have some pros and some cons. Uh, all these things are there. But to summarize here, blockchain has got a tremendous use case in finance. In fact, finance is the place where it all started with peer-to-peer lending, but it really has expanded into so much diverse, use cases there. Now, as I talked earlier, that it really has use cases in almost all walks of life. I always talk about that: transportation, shipment, logistics, supply chain. The tracking of data. For example, I was talking earlier that if you are supplying meat or you are supplying fish, for example, the temperature has to be maintained for 10 days transit duration. Now, you can always integrate blockchain with IoT sensors, and if there is data from IoT temperature sensor data, if that comes to the blockchain and if shows that okay, the temperature got down somewhere, temperature became problematic and the fish got fish quality got degraded. If it is centralized system, it doesn't take me more than a minute to go and change the temperature in my database. I just go and say, oh no, it's everything is all right. But if it's blockchain, if the temperature data has got into blockchain, nobody can go and touch it. So I think use cases are plenty.
Praveen
Agriculture,
sir,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I had some
Mhm.
network issue back there. There was a question regarding hash, if we can address it. So
Okay.
the question was by Akshay Gudi,
Mhm.
saying, I am confused why hashing is considered collision free. There are no fixed number of hashes available, but infinite data! Exclamation and question mark at the same time.
Absolutely. So see, when I say collision free, what it really means that if you cannot find two inputs where the two inputs are not same and their hashes are same, that's what we are trying to say here. Now, is it impossible? No, I think nobody can claim that it is impossible. If you are taking one word and another word, which are different words, it is highly unlikely that their hashes will be same. Now, 1 in trillion, zillion, I don't know how many aliens you talk about, this could be possible, but for all practical purposes, you cannot find two inputs which have the same hash. And that we are depending and leveraging very, very hugely. That's the point I'm trying to make. There's nothing else. Okay. So, okay, coming back to the point here, I was talking about business use cases. So I talked about supply chain, talked about lending, finance, talked about transportation. I have already talked about agriculture. In what all ways can you use blockchain in agriculture? Now, the beauty here is that you could come up with newer use cases which were not possible in the conventional world. You could come and do here because there are many use cases in which are native in blockchain. You really don't need to think the way you think in Web 2 world and then think of solution there. You could do several things new here. We talked about real estate. We talked about NFTs. Now you know that NFTs have become a big tool in which basically NFT becomes the foundational element of several business use cases, be it games, be it sports, be it movies, be it music, be it even these all NFTs have got their DeFi applications. So I think these NFTs are also applicable in real estate, where the house ownership could be represented, the transfer becomes smooth. Many use cases are possible here. So at the end of the day, I think what I want to tell you here by this slide is basically that the use cases, the business segments are tremendous, immense. And I think I definitely have not been able to cover all of them here. If you go and Google it, you will find what I'm really talking about. Okay. Uh, some of the things that we also should talk about, what's really happening in this space, and I always talk it from both the perspectives, one from the ecosystem perspective and one from the user perspective, exactly what exactly we see here. So in my opinion, and I think as we talk, the technology maturity is happening very, very rapidly, very, very high pace, and people are falling, people are standing up, people are moving again, falling. That's what it is happening in my opinion. Does it happen? Did it not happen in Web 2? Yes, it did happen there also. Nothing new. If you go and look at the Gartner's, technology hype cycle, you will find what I'm saying here, that any technology has to go through this curve. I remember in 2000 when the .com came, and people started creating websites left and right. Everybody started creating left and right, and most of them failed. Some of them survived, some of them did excellent, but then many people were trying to misuse it, trying to take advantage of. So that happens everywhere. And I think though we may have gone 10 years or 12 years so far, or even more, but I think we still are in the nascent stage of this technology, because whatever really has happened in this space, in my opinion, has really happened in last 4 to 5 years, not before that. Before that, people were trying to get hold of the technology. Okay. Innovation is very, very fast, and I think, as I said earlier, problems are coming. So many problems are coming. Problems are coming with respect to finance. Problems are coming with technology. Problems are coming with respect to adoption. Problems are coming with respect to the democratization. All those things, and that is where the problems are solving is happening in all different ways. The tech maturity is happening. People are coming with better and better user interfaces, uh, and so we're trying to solve all these things one by one, right? But it will definitely take time, but we're on the right path. People, we think that people are taking interest in this because it is creating value for them. If it is creating value for them, then only you will be able to trust. If people don't see any value, nobody will come for adoption. Now, why adoption is little problematic right now? Because the user interfaces are very complex. People have to remember their the private keys. People have to remember their seed phrase, and you lose it, and all of your money gone. I mean, there are a lot many challenges there. And of course, the initial response to that is that, okay, centralize some of these things, keep these things in database. But that is not true decentralization, in my opinion. Something will happen, some more innovation will happen in this space, which will kind of give some of these solution to some of these problems, right? Um, uh, a lot of this depends. I think one thing that you should keep in mind, that this industry is still very heavily connected in terms of the money movement, and the money transfer from the conventional world, the finance world to the DeFi world. For example, all the stable coins, and I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and they were pretty right in saying that, look, if all your stable coins are connected to dollars, if dollar fluctuates, if dollar has a problem, all the stable coins also have problems. Now, these are very, very important problems that are being posed by people. But what I'm trying to say here is that this system has to be big enough where you don't need to map Bitcoin or Ether or other currencies, Polka dot currency token, to anything else in the physical world. Now, when will that happen? When this world is big enough. And I think that's what we need to work towards, where you don't need to map yourself to something else, some other currency. That will be the day when we will be, then we will be kind of be happy about it, claim that this is a system which can run independently. You must have heard of El Salvador, a Latin American country, where they have made Bitcoin as a currency, where that's their national currency in the sense that loans can be repaid in Bitcoin, for the very good step. But then, yeah, of course, this will take time for global adoption, and I personally see that this is going to be taking some time. But ultimately, if we are able to mature this technology, if we are getting clarity in regulations without inhibiting the progress or innovations, in my opinion, uh, enough tokenization will happen. It means enough real world assets will come into virtual world, and then this becomes real the this virtual world becomes the real world. State participation I have talked about, which is quite happening. If you really know that lot many countries are working towards adopting the central bank digital currency CBDCs, even India has done that, and those CBDCs have their own challenges right now. But then again, I am sure that there will be maturity about that, and uh, you know uh, this will definitely help the society. So that's pretty much I think I wanted to cover today, Deepak, from the blockchain and Web3 perspective. I hope I have been able to give some perspective, and I hope this becomes the foundation for you to do further research, go and expand your knowledge, and then build upon the further knowledge acquisition process. But I think this definitely should help you, Deepak.
Absolutely, sir. First of all, thank you. I think that was quite a journey. I think the entire Hackfest was summarized in this short 1.5 hour conversation, I would say. But I would at the same time request people to just ask us any question you have with respect to the program, with respect to the session, with respect to anything that you might have, you might want to ask, because right now is the right time, and you have a person in Praveen sir who would be able to answer all of your questions and queries right now. So make the best use of the opportunity, and please type in your questions and we'll address them. So there was one question where host Salim Mujawar had asked, where like about 20 minutes back, where he was saying, "Sir, can you give one practical example how to start it?" I didn't understand that question clearly, so I asked him if he can elaborate further. So Salim, if you're there, you can just put uh, like let us know what exactly you wanted to ask. And there were some questions regarding to the program from students who are part of the Hackfest. Guys, if you have any questions, just come out with it. We'll address it. So I think so Puneet is saying that Coach Salim is asking that how to start with blockchain. Give a practical example.
So I think how to start with blockchain, as I always have told in the past also, first of all, you should understand the basics of blockchain. How does the blockchain work? If you jump into and that's where I think that's where we have designed this program CEP in such a way that we will orient you towards this technology. What I have covered today, guys, pretty much this is all. Now, all of these things can be explained deeper. I think that definitely is not possible to be covered in the classes. But then I think what I will suggest is that go deeper into all of these subjects and build a fair understanding of how do these things work. Sorry. Once you do that, depending upon your technical orientation or what kind of role do you really want to play in blockchain, do you really care about community? Are you do you like everybody may not be required to come in technology. If you really like the functional aspects, you could do that. If you really if you really want if you really want to get into the adoption side of it, right, you could do that. Depends. I mean, you have to first figure out what exactly you want to do, and then go deeper into that subject. And if you really are getting into technology, then of course There are some fundamental technologies upon which these things are based, such as if you are looking at Polkadot, then it is based on Rust, where if you understand Rust, it becomes easier for you. In fact, that becomes the fundamental for you to start working in Polkadot ecosystem. Similar to that, other chains, other languages, they have got their own, programming languages based on which they have created their own language. So I think so. You need to understand that, and then of course you need to also try building small things. Don't start building the massive applications in the beginning. That's not going to be feasible. So try to build small applications, then try to run them in test network. Okay, be a part of community, right? In fact, I will suggest that all of you, why don't you create this IBC Discord channel as a thriving community? Please come here, talk about things, participate, you know, discuss your problems here. Let's make this a thriving community. I think this could be one of the, because right now we have in the range of 1,000 plus. Deepak would have the exact number of Discord members.
We have 1,200 plus, sir.
1,200 plus. I think my intention of my Discord, IBC Media's Discord, is to make it 100,000 people. Let's get more people here. Let's make it productive. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about functional. Let's talk about technical. Let's talk about community. Let's make this a thriving community. I think this is something which is going to be which is going to be a place where people would want to hang out, right? Hang around. So the point is that there is no defined journey here, in my opinion. You have to do things in a progressive and staged manner, right?
Right. Thank you, sir. So we have a comment from I think Gade, who's saying everything is fine, sir. We have no doubts in today's session. Thank you, sir. That's the comment that we have got. Anybody else, if you have any other doubt, we have a few minutes to spare. I think Praveen sir won't be available after that, so you can just put in the question now. And Praveen sir, there was a question on Discord earlier. I had a private message from a participant who was saying, who said that they have submitted their DAO project, and they wanted to know like who will guide them.
Absolutely. So I think Deepak will come back to all of you on that. As I was saying earlier, that I want to DAO is one project. I also want to guide you through some other projects which are more pointed from our sponsors, where you could definitely get some more traction. So give us 1 or 2 more days. Deepak will revert back to you with any specific suggestions on projects that we would want you to work on, and I believe that will be the right thing to do, guys. I think so. Give us a few more days, and then we will definitely talk on that.
Absolutely. And what to add on to what Praveen sir has just said, we have some really exciting and simple things that some of our sponsors have created projects for you all. I think once you complete those simple tasks, there's a good incentive for you, like an immediate incentive if you just complete do some simple steps and complete some simple projects in certain sponsor track. And we will be discussing with all of that with you all. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, you'll be working, you'll be creating stuff, you'll be learning stuff, and at the same time you'll be winning stuff. So it's quite a comprehensive from what I understand.
Absolutely.
So Praveen sir, I think that is about it. And once again, I would like to thank you for your time and speaking about the program, the introduction to blockchain in depth. And I'm sure it must have given to the students a lot of clarity, even though they were part of the HackFest or the new students who participated with us today. And we'll be hoping to see a lot of you all again tomorrow. At the same time, I would reiterate the point that was mentioned by Praveen sir, that it's always good to join and learn and revisit what you have learned earlier. So it just doubles in on the knowledge that you have gained. And at the same time, the best thing that I think is about this live sessions is that you get to interact with the person who's the expert, the mentor, I mean, we have Praveen sir today. I'm not sure about tomorrow. We'll try to have him tomorrow, but in case not, then we'll have another expert with us tomorrow. But at the same time, what I wanted to say and reiterate is that joining these live sessions is quite fun, because I mean, it's okay. You can obviously go and read, but there would be questions that you would want to know, from a practical point of view at a particular level where you might be stuck. So it's always good to be live and ask questions, pinpointed questions that mentor would be able to help you. There could be a consistent Q&A, back and forth on a certain topic, and that adds a lot of fun in this journey where you're trying to gain maximum knowledge. And obviously we have Discord, where I know our colleague Debasco has been quite active and is helping you all with a lot of stuff. At the same time, we also have other mentors who are pitching in wherever they get the time, and we'll be adding on more mentors. Praveen sir and Abhishek sir have a plan of adding a lot more mentors in the coming days. So yeah, feel free to add your questions over there, and feel free to ask anything that you feel. And as I've said earlier, no question is a stupid question, and it's always good to just clear your doubts. And I mean, once you do that, you always you'll go away, take away much more than just not asking anything, because once you ask, you help yourself and also the other team members gain more clarity. With that, I would like to end today's call. Praveen sir, I would want to know if there are any final comments that you would want to make before you wind up.
No, absolutely. I think it was pleasure being here, and my only request is that this Deepak will work with the team to publish this video also. Please watch this at your leisure if you really need to. But then I think anything worthwhile in your life, you all are starting in your starting career of your professional life. Anything worthwhile does not happen easily. You need to put in effort, consistent effort, to get something worthwhile. So this is an opportunity. Please work, and please attend these sessions and work. Not only don't attend and forget this. That will not help you. You need to work based on what we discuss here. Then only you will be able to achieve what you really are thinking of. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you again, Praveen sir. Thank you to all the participants who have joined in. Looking forward to see you all tomorrow. Make sure you spread the knowledge by sharing the links for tomorrow's live session, which will be the same link. The entire module 1, which has 3 days of sessions, will be running on the same link, so you can just join back here at the same time tomorrow. Make sure you invite your friends, because module 1 is accessible to all. There is no restriction. And for module 2, will be sharing more information on how to proceed to that. And you also you would also already have a lot of idea on how to move on to module 2 and module 3. But at the same time, it's always good to share it with the friends who missed the opportunity to join us at the IBC HackFest, so they can at least follow up now and start their journey with IBC, with respect to their development and building and knowledge base, so they can help themselves in improving their career. So you don't just learn from it, you also make your friends learn from it. And that is one of the major elements of Abhishek sir's motto. So yeah, make sure you do that. And Praveen sir, once again, thank you. Once again, thank you to all the participants. Dhruv, thank you very much for getting us together. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you.